It was the third anniversary of the Donald Trump-led January 6, 2021 insurrection. Y'all remember, wasn't a little walk in the park. Y'all roll a video. They sit here and lied, talked about, they were just taking a normal tour. That's how Republicans have labeled the actions, even though you got more than 700 people who've actually been arrested by the feds for their involvement in that terrorist attack. My next guest was in the midst of the chaos and turmoil that disrupted the Electoral College vote count, resulting in 9 deaths, assaults on at least 174 police officers, and millions of dollars in damage. Yep, those MAGA extremists, they're the reason former U.S. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn says he is running for Congress. He dropped this video today.
On this day, my role was as a Capitol Police officer. I'm Harry Dunn, and that meant putting aside who I am, a father, a Marylander, a Democrat, because I swore an oath to protect our Constitution, to protect our democracy. It's what allowed me to protect some members of Congress who I knew were bigots, who helped fan the flames that started all of this. I put country above self. The problem is, a lot of them didn't. Some of the same people who stood behind us when we protected them went back on the floor of Congress and stood behind Trump. They voted to acquit him. And worst of all, they denied the violence and trauma that led to the death of some of my fellow officers. I couldn't stand by and watch. I had another role to play. I used my voice to speak out, to get into good trouble. And a few weeks ago, I left the force after more than 15 years of service, so that today I can announce I'm running for Congress. We can't ever let this happen again. And you've heard it from Trump himself. He is hell-bent on finishing what he started this day. I'm stepping into a new role today, but I can't do it alone. I believe every one of us has a role to play in this fight. So join me. We've got a democracy to protect.
Folks, Harry Dunn joins us right now. Glad to have you here on the show. Obviously, a decision like this isn't an easy one. How long have you been thinking about this?
Hey, thanks, Brother Roland, for having me on. I've been a public servant the last 15, 16 years of my life. So if you would have asked me before January 6th if I had thought about running for office, then sure, I may have considered it at the age of 57, 55, whenever I was forced to retire from my job. But January 6th did happen, and here we are. I stuck around as long as I could. There's this phrase or this saying that I heard, until there's nothing that can be done, there's always something that can be done. And I believe that I've done everything I can in the position as a Capitol Police officer to seek accountability, to protect democracy, to defend the Constitution. And now I'm stepping into a new role. And the decision, like you said, it didn't come lightly. I walked away from 4 years short of being able to retire and to receive my pension because we can't wait. Democracy is literally an election away from being extinct. And not being recognizable as we know it today. And we can't sit around and wait for somebody else to do it. So there's an opportunity right now for me to take another role, and I'm stepping into it.
The thing that is still interesting, let's say you're elected. You're actually going to be serving alongside people who have lied about that day. People who were cowering and running for cover, but who turned around and are protecting these people, who are supporting Donald Trump, who says that he will pardon every single person who was convicted for what took place on January 6th. I mean, these are people who are, frankly, a joke.
Yeah, you just said something very important, though. You said I'll be serving alongside of them, not beneath them, not under them. I get a seat at the table. I get a voice now. It's hard for them to dismiss me as just an angry, pissed off Capitol Police officer now. I'm your colleague. You have to sit there and listen to what I have to say. And I think that will be very beneficial. Like I said, I've done all that I could as a role as a Capitol Police officer. I was defending these individuals before the insurrection happened and 3 years after it. So I definitely can put my feelings aside and stand up for what I believe in democracy, because they have the right to say that. They have the right to lie. They have the right to do everything that they're doing. And I believe in defending that right. But it needs to be pushed back against by the real patriots of this country.
You were a retiring congressman in that particular district. Look, when you run, you got to raise a lot of money to do so as well. And so beyond January 6th, what else are you focusing on?
I'm glad that you said donate. HarryDunnForCongress.com and donate to me. Obviously, so, going back into what am I focused on? The big umbrella is democracy. So I align with Democratic views when it comes to, abortion, when it comes to common sense gun reform, when it comes to securing voting rights and expanding voting rights, when it comes to lowering the costs for health care and prescription drugs. I stand with Democrats on all of those issues. But right now, what I refer to where we are right now is a moment. This moment, none of that matters. None of those issues matter if we get a dictator in Congress. And I say that not just, and I'll still Joe Biden's word is hyperbole. I don't say that as that. Donald Trump said out of his own mouth that he wants to be a dictator. And even he jokes around and says only for a day. Like, do we not take that guy seriously? At what point do we not stop not taking him seriously? So, I agree obviously with the Democratic platform, but none of those issues even get to see the light of day. We don't get to debate those if we don't protect this democracy that we have.
Questions from the panel. I'll start with you, Michael.
All right. Former Officer Harry Dunn, it's good to see you again. I saw you this morning on Morning Joe making the announcement as well. Thanks for coming on Roland Martin Unfiltered. As a candidate for Congress, and you mentioned at the top of the ticket, the most important thing is saving the democracy. How would you explain to people, especially Generation Z, what democracy is and why it's so important to save it and protect it?
One of the biggest things, that's a great question, man. One of the things that I've run into along all of this, the last 3 years of speaking out, is indifference. A lot of people don't really care unless something is directly affecting them. So I think it's important to get the message out there why this is important to you specifically. You won't get the right to do that. Your mother, your sister won't have the right if she's raped by somebody and she's forced to have a rapist baby. You don't get a say anymore because, you know what? You live in a different zip code. So you know what? You can't vote for these individuals. So we need to make that clear to these individuals, the generation that you just referred to. We got to make it clear that, yes, it may seem like all this stuff is happening on the news, and a lot of people like to distance themselves. I don't watch the news. It's too negative. Well, you better pay attention because it's going to happen with or without you. And I want people to have a voice and to have a say in it, because the more people that have a say, the harder it is for these individuals to tear up democracy like a piece of paper.
Right.
Kelly?
All right, thank you.
Hi, Harry. Good to see you again. So as we are both somewhat Marylanders, you're definitely a Marylander, obviously. Reading up on specifically the 3rd District, you have already admitted that while you're not a resident of that district yet, you will be moving there once you win, fingers crossed that you do win. Even though you are a U.S. Congressman speaking this into existence, what are some of the issues of the 3rd District specifically that you plan on campaigning for, provided that you win? What are some of those things that are specific to Marylanders that you will take with you to the Hill?
That's a great question. And a lot of times, the issues that we're facing in this country, they're not just exclusive to the country. They exist in Maryland too. You know, people talk about high crime, and that's just not all across the country. That's here in Maryland too. It's here, the cars getting stolen and everything. We have to address that. We have to fix that. One of the things that's very specific to Maryland is the infrastructure system. It should not take 1 hour to drive 15 miles, to drive from the district to drive 15 miles to Baltimore. It shouldn't take you 1 hour. So I would love to, you know, revamp and look at the infrastructure system. One of the things that's also very important to me is I've been pounding the pavement about this is mental health. We have got to incorporate mental health into regular health care. We have to reduce the stigma, and I am willing to do any and everything to get that on the forefront or some legislation. Additionally, first and foremost, I'm going to talk to the district. Those are just some things that I want to do. I can't wait to get out there and talk to the voters. And, you know, I've always been this guy who just believes in public service. I'm a public servant. I'm a servant of the people. Use me. I'm a vessel. So I want them to pour into me and me be able to give them a voice on the floor of the House of Representatives in the halls of Congress.
Matt?
Thanks for coming back, and thanks for your service, your storied service. Here's my question for you. I know you just made your announcement today, but what has been the response from law enforcement and the military, and what is your expectation about that? Because obviously you were in the line of duty on one of the most important days in our history. But when we see law enforcement, you know, a lot of times they tend to skew conservative. So what is the response been, and what is your expectation about support you might find from that contingent of people?
You know, a lot of people that I've talked to I haven't seen organizations putting out statements or anything like that, but individuals that I work with, the police officers that I know, law enforcement friends, have been very supportive of me. And, you know, and this isn't about a Democrat or Republican. This is about preserving our democracy. Working at the Capitol, I think it's safe to say over my career, I've dealt with over 1,000 protests. And there are issues that I agree with, issues that I don't agree with. But you know what? Those individuals had a safe space to demonstrate and exercise their First Amendment right. And that's what all law enforcement, and frankly, all Americans should care about. We shouldn't. So when individuals, like I said, law enforcement, my friends, that they are very, very receptive of and supportive of me, wishing me well and everything like that, because they know the people that I know, and that's why I look forward to getting out in the district and actually meeting people. The people actually know me, know that, sure, I have liberal views, but I'm not going to be dismissive of an individual just because they have different views as me. So generally, like you said, like most police unions tend to do, I would love to sit down with all of them and find out how can we work together. We're going to be here on this planet together. We might as well coexist.
All right, then. Harry Dunn, we'll appreciate it. Good luck in the campaign.
Thanks, man. Harry Dunn for Congress.com. Donate. Thanks a lot for y'all.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.